With details on the recent bidding for WWE PLE'S and more, this is Pro Wrestling Central. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Speaking about his lifestyle choices outside of the ring, Ric Flair told Clay Edwards, living the gimmick. Living the gimmick has not always been the ideal way to live. I forgot to pay my taxes for a couple of years, so I live in my gimmick. Asked if he enjoys being himself, Flair responded, "Oh, yeah, I do. I don't have a problem. 99% of everybody I meet now is nice. You're only once in a while going to find somebody that's either drunk or, wants to be too familiar. Like, I don't like people coming up and putting their arm around me if I'm not aware of it and stuff like that. But otherwise, like last night at Martin's, everybody was so damn nice. Over the top nice. And that's pretty much what I experience everywhere I go. People are very friendly." Asked when his contract with AEW is up, commentator for the promotion Jim Ross noted on his Grilling JR podcast, "I think my contract's up in August. Like this month? Yeah, you're going to renew, you think? Well, I'm hopeful. I'm not planning on going anywhere. I like my part-time schedule. It lets me keep my batteries charged. I like working for Tony Khan because he's always been fair and civil to me, and that I appreciate. Whenever he produces announced talent and I would hear on headsets like these, oftentimes I don't even hear him because he's not overly hyped and active, and he certainly has the ability to be. He owns it. He's smart. It's easy to be a little eccentric and be a pain in the ass producing announced talent. It's not an easy job, and it can really screw your announcers up by getting them off rhythm and messing up their timing. Barry Bloom is my agent. He's working on it. I'm not worried about it." Professing his love for WWE, John Cena told Stephanie McMahon on What's Your Story, "I will say I love the WWE. There are a lot of people who do. I love it as much as anyone, not more. As much as anyone can love something. The WWE, I love it as much as anybody does. And in every interview, every movie set, all I do is say, this is just like WWE guys. I used to think they were different, but this is the same. I channel all my experiences through the crucible that I've been through, and I'll never not love it. No matter who owns it, no matter who runs it, no matter who the superstars are, even if I don't know them, even if I'm not caught up on programming or if I'm not there, I will always advocate for it. And I don't need an important title behind that. I don't need any title. When you guys finally are like, hey, thank you for your service, it's been great playing with you, and that happens because everything always ends, I'm not going to go out the next day and badmouth the thing that I love. And I don't use the word wrestling. I use the word WWE. I don't like wrestling. I love WWE specifically. It's where I belong. So long as that's a sentiment in my life, I'm always going to try to get people to watch, to experience it, and to get invested in it because, man, it has made my life this crazy roller coaster." Providing an update on Jay White, who has not wrestled on AEW since March, president of the company, Tony Khan, told My Mom's Basement, "We have people that go really, really hard. So you talk about Jon Moxley, somebody that dominated AEW, went to every single show, and set the highest standard for pro wrestling over the past year. But he also held the championship hostage in a briefcase. He had a vision of what he wanted, and I have to say, in the end, what Mox said at the beginning and set out to do, he accomplished. If you really look, he said he wanted to make AEW better. He did it. He said, I want to actually see the young wrestlers step up and be great. Like I know this place was supposed to be built on. Well, guess what? It happened. They all stepped up and it happened organically. You saw wrestlers step up. Some of them challenged Jon Moxley along the way and fell. Early on, there were casualties in Jon Moxley's reign like Orange Cassidy and certainly Darby Allin, who made great runs at Jon Moxley. Jay White, one of the best wrestlers in the world, got injured along the way and is going to be out for a long time. I think Jay White's a great example because he's a player you figure into your plans. If a star like that in any sport gets injured, you're going to have to change your plans because guess what? He was definitely in your plans, whether you're in the NFL, Premier League, or pro wrestling. If you have a superstar, you have them factored into your plan. So if they get injured and they're out for the rest of the year, that's going to affect your planning. Talking about attending Hulk Hogan's funeral, Conrad Thompson said this on Jim Ross's podcast. "It was surreal, man. I couldn't tell you how many dozens of police officers were there. They had to make sure you were on the list before you even got into the parking lot. When you went to the front, they checked you off a list, gave you a ticket, and that dictated where you sat. It was a crazy, surreal deal. I guess I was in the center. They didn't allow any media in that I know of. The local church filmed it. Indian Rocks Christian was the name of the facility. They had a nice digital invite you were supposed to RSVP to. When I got mine, I hesitated. I only had like 30 interactions with the guy. I didn't really know the family and I felt out of place. But I was pressured and insisted upon, so I said, okay, I get it. I even talked to my wife, telling her, I don't know, I'm not a funeral guy. This feels weird. She said, if Eric wanted you to go, would he go? I said, yeah, you're right. I'm there to support. I'm there to show respect. It was surreal, man. I was seated next to Jeff and Karen Jarrett. Right in front of me was Matt Riddle and his wife. Behind me were Dory and Marty Funk. Just past Jeff was Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman. Behind them was Kevin Owens. Next to him was Bill Alfonso. It was like walking into the Star Wars bar. Dennis Rodman up front walking by the casket. Brian Knobbs in the back boo-hooing. And then out saunters Vince McMahon. I never saw Vince in the crowd. Everyone else entered from the front steps, but Vince came from stage left in the background. It was a performance. Vince McMahon knows how to captivate an audience. Triple H came up a bit later, after a video, a pastor's speech, and a song, and joked. You think by now I would have learned not to follow Vince McMahon. Everyone laughed. He gave a really nice speech. I felt so bad for Jimmy Hart. There were so many people you've never seen in an emotional state. I probably shouldn't talk too much about private moments, but it was a surreal, weird experience. I was surprised pictures leaked out. It didn't feel like the kind of place to take photos. I don't deal well with funerals and the finality of them. Even for a star the magnitude of Hulk Hogan, in my lifetime, probably one of the top 10 most famous people in my sphere. The idea that you do all this, people come to pay respects, and 2 hours later it's, where are we going for dinner? With Ron Killing seemingly reverting back to his R-Truth character on SmackDown, many fans were not pleased with this. Writing on X, so Ron Killings disappears from TV, just to come back and be R-Truth on a random episode of SmackDown? Mind you, he cut off his dreads on live TV just to go back to this goofy character. What a waste. You just have to laugh. Triple H is a booker. John Cena's heel turn was so bad, WWE pretends it never happened. The whole Ron Killings thing flopped, so they turned him back into R-Truth. Every top story sucked, so they brought back Brock Lesnar. So that entire R-Truth turning into Ron Killings storyline was for nothing. Seems like Triple H and WWE Creative want us to forget everything happened in the last 6 months after Cena's disaster heel turn, WWE pulling off an MIB here. I knew was cooked when they went back to calling him R-Truth like 2 weeks after they brought him back. And just like that, Truth is back to being a comedy act instead of being taken seriously. So he is R-Truth now? What happened to his new gimmick? This is horrible. Makes no sense. This is why we watch AEW. So Ron Killings is already dead? LOL. WWE has some really weak short-term writing anymore. So what Ron Killings thing is already done and gone? And just like that, they made R-Truth a comedy act again. Shaking my head. They fumbled the heel turn and Truth's return. Touching on Peacock's offer for WWE Premium Live events before losing the bidding to ESPN, Brian Alvarez said this on Wrestling Observer Live. Peacock did make an offer, and I guess the offer was allegedly in the neighborhood of about $275 million a year. WWE wanted more, obviously, and they ended up getting the $325 million, which is why they went to ESPN over Peacock. Obviously, if Peacock had offered $400 million a year, they would have stayed, but they didn't. Apparently, they were also potentially shopping around WrestleMania as a separate deal. For example, they might have been willing to stay with Peacock, but give ESPN WrestleMania for a set amount per year. That was something that was discussed, but they ended up going all in with ESPN. As Brock Lesnar is tied to the sex trafficking lawsuit against Vince McMahon and WWE, Dave Meltzer explained why the legal team over at WWE allowed Lesnar to return to the company, noting in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, "The big unanswered question is what made WWE legal change their viewpoint on Lesnar. The belief, despite Janelle Grant's attorneys indicating this wasn't a sure thing and a judge ruling in the case that indicated an investigation was still going after we got word it was over, is that there is no legal case against Vince McMahon. That was believed to have been tabled at the same time the SEC investigation of McMahon completed, which was early January. The civil trial is ongoing. Do they see that as less of a threat? One would think so by this action. If the case goes to arbitration, everything related to Lesnar becomes irrelevant. If they see a settlement coming, the Lesnar stuff is likely not a major factor either." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.